Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Education. Minister, 2 weeks ago we brought families of students who have suffered from the pain and humiliation of student-on-student violence and have had abuse excuse me, in the schools. And they were here to encourage dialogue with you. A young girl, herself a victim of bullying, is raising awareness and fighting the good fight virtually on her own. These people have not had any response or direction from your ministry or your office despite repeated attempts to contact you for support. Minister, your Safe Schools Action Report is just that. It's a report. When will you finally do your job, take action, and implement mandatory reporting in your schools for the sake of those who continue to be abused?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to just express my sympathy to the family and to the student who has been involved in this incident. Obviously, it's extremely serious when kids or adults are the victims of bullying. But, Mr. Speaker, it is patently untrue that there has been no contact, Mr. Speaker. Ministry officials have been in touch with both the parent and the board and continue to monitor the situation. I'm not going to say any more about the specifics of that situation, but I just want to be clear that the ministry has been involved, ministry officials in the regional office has been involved, and I think it's extremely irresponsible for anyone in elected office to spread that kind of fear and misinformation, Mr. Speaker. I really think it is—
Just stop the clock. I just remind the honourable member of a lecture that I delivered to all members last week to try and— The member from Newmarket Aurora is not helping either with his comments. I just remind all members that we do need to ensure that we treat one another with respect, and making comments that can cause the opposition to start to make some challenging comments back isn't helpful for the whole legislature.
Mr. Speaker, but the point I'm trying to make is that in a situation like this—
I don't need the help from the member of Brant. Supplementary.
Well, the truth of the matter is these parents have had absolutely no satisfaction from anything your ministry might or might not be doing. Your promises ring empty for these parents, Minister. And they've had to fight this fight on their own for several years to try to keep their kids safe in schools, and you and your office have virtually abandoned them. Our children deserve to feel safe in their schools, and the police need to be alerted of serious incidents of violence and abuse, student-on-student abuse in the schools. This can no longer be kept like a dirty little secret in our schools. The police are trained to handle these situations and will ensure that students are protected and the abuser receives the help that it needs. Minister, when will you take action to safeguard our students who have been entrusted to your care and mandate that the police and parents are contacted?
Thank you. Minister.
Speaker, and as I've said many times in this House, Mr. Speaker, we're going to be introducing legislation that will, in fact, close the gaps that we have uncovered as a result of the actions of the Safe Schools Action Team. That legislation will be introduced. But, Mr. Speaker, I have to make the point that when this government came into office, there were no anti-bullying programs in schools. The resources around diversity and equity had been removed from the schools, Mr. Speaker. I started doing conflict resolution work in 1990. When this government opposite came into power, they took every resource out of the schools, and we are, in fact, putting those resources back in the school, Mr. Speaker. The member opposite has absolutely not a leg to stand on in terms of putting resources into the schools. Every school in this system has got an anti-bullying program in place. I will put our record, Mr. Speaker, on anti-bullying and safe schools up against the member opposite's record any day of the week. Thank you, Mr.